Welcome back. This is the Restaurant Rockstars podcast, and I am Roger. Today's episode is about an excellence over everything approach. We're talking leadership, finances, team building, guest service, execution on all levels. This company hires from across industries, brings in experts to run their concepts and to instill the best of everything and a quality overall approach. You're not going to want to miss it. I've told you before that I have a mini course called the Restaurant Profit Maximizer. Now, in this new year, in a brand new 2025, why not put your best foot forward, maximize your profits? I'm giving you immediately actionable ideas to boost your bottom line. It's at restaurantrockstars.com/profit maximizer. Check it out. Now, on with the episode with President Nina Quincy of Rex Hospitality Group. Listen on.
You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Beaudoin.
Restaurants sell tons of fried food, and your customers love it. But the hassles, hazards, and mess of fryer oil, cleaning hoods, and all that grease, well, you can forget all that with Restaurant Technologies. They deliver your oil, filter it, monitor usage, collect and recycle your waste cooking oil. Their AutoMist system automates your hood and flue cleaning, eliminating the fire risk. As a Restaurant Technologies customer, you'll also save 10 to 15% in your insurance premiums. Plus, get a bonus for new customer referrals. Get started at rti-inc.com or call 866-399-3639. Taking food and beverage inventory is vital to determine your true food and beverage costs. It's not about placing your orders, it's calculating the value of your products, which can be many thousands of dollars each week. Don't leave your profit to chance when Sculpture Hospitality are the experts with a system. They don't just manage your inventory, they give you a clear picture of your restaurant profit. Get a free inventory consult at sculpturehospitality.com/rockstar. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. So glad you're here. Nina, welcome to the show today. So excited to have you.
So much for inviting me, Roger. I'm so excited.
You have decades of hospitality experience, and I can't wait to dive in the nuts and bolts of what that means in running great restaurants. But do you first have any crazy restaurant stories? I can't believe this happened.
Yes, a lot. Anywhere from PG to rated R. So we'll stick to the tamer ones. It was right after I moved to Nashville when I left Vegas. Big, very iconic historic venue. And one morning I go walking downstairs to get the day started and there's no one there. We don't have any staff. We have one host.
Yeah.
I did not catch when the schedule was posted by the AGM. They thought we were closed for a buyout, which was the next day. So they had scheduled nobody. And about maybe 10 minutes after we opened, we had a tour bus with about 40 retirees pull up. And it was myself and 2 people.
What did you do? That's unbelievable. Did the show must go on? Did you somehow make the show go on? And how did you possibly do that?
We did. We had a full kitchen crew. So thankfully the food can get cooked. I started as a cook and worked every position in the front of the house also. So I got behind the bar. The 2 employees who happened to be there by chance, one of them became a host very quickly and the other one was a server. In the meantime, I'm on my phone calling all of our staff, begging anybody to come in, and we made it happen.
I'm really happy that it all went down. This business is entertainment, it's show business. And like I said, the show must go on, and somehow you made that happen. And I think everyone in our audience has their own crazy stories that somehow we get through them and we move on and we laugh about them later. So thanks for sharing. So you are passionate about hospitality and creating memorable guest experiences. And that takes a team and that takes all kinds of detail to make positive impressions across every single restaurant that you're involved in. How do you achieve this in your restaurants? And what's key to obviously creating those memorable guest experiences?
It's going to sound cheesy and cliche, and I feel like so many people throw it around, but truly it starts with us. If we're not nice to each other, we're certainly not going to be nice to the guests. And if we don't care about each other, then we're certainly not going to care about our guests. So yes, it starts with us, but that also means that you have to hire the right people. You can teach skills, and everybody says that, right? You can teach skills, but I can't teach you how to be nice. There's a lot of facts behind it, truly. And obviously, there are certain positions that experience is necessary, but truly the nice part, the kind part, the people that genuinely care about hospitality, that's something that you just can't teach.
That is true. So, finding the right people that have the right attitude and approach leads to my next question. Do you hire for experience or do you really hire for what in a person and you train for the rest? Or hopefully you can find both combined in one. But like you said, you cannot train for that feeling of hospitality and what that means and the person's real passion or feeling to give a memorable, amazing experience to every guest. How do you hire or how do
Yeah.
you find these great people?
I guess the answer everybody wants to hear would be, well, I hire for personality, but that's not it because we can't run restaurants on personality alone. So truly, when we're hiring, I'm always looking for that golden person that has all of it, that has the skill, the knowledge, the experience, and the personality. That's not always possible. So that's when I look for the potential, which means trying to identify those high performing people that genuinely care about performance, that are always trying to do a little bit better. Yeah, I do have a rule though, and my team has all heard me say this. You're only allowed to have one project at a time,
Hmm.
meaning if we hire somebody that needs to be trained up, each department gets one of those. That's it. And not because it's going to hurt the department, but because if you have too many projects going at once, you can't give them the focus, the attention, and the training that they deserve and need to get them to where they need to be. So we do both. We do both, and we try to balance out with experience and personality and our people that we're going to train to do the job.
Great. Thanks for answering. So, Nina, the team is foundational to the success of any of your restaurants. Is there anything special you do about onboarding and training? And do you believe in mentoring and shadowing? Does that happen in your properties?
All of it, yes. And it starts us with the very beginning when somebody is first onboarding with their orientation, with the handbook. We don't use the very adult, great corporate style of conversations that happen in those handbooks because people won't read them. So it's very conversational, lots of stories, telling of how we came to be, so to speak, in hopes that everybody will actually read it. Then once you get into the training portion of it, we have a very regimented way of training. There's day
Mhm.
one, there's day two, there's day three. And we have check-ins at the end of every day, but it's not so much us critiquing the employee that we just hired. It's the employee letting us know what they felt, that they understood, what they need more help with. And then their trainer also gives feedback. So this isn't a manager decides that you're out of training. This is the people that help train you, the ones that you're going to be working side by side with every day. They're the ones that are going to make the decision if you are ready to be out of training. So we don't if it takes you 5 days to get through training, great. If it takes you 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if you get to that 4 week mark, then we start to have conversations about maybe this
Sure.
isn't a great fit.
Of course.
But that really does matter to us that you're able to perform at the level of your teammates when you come out of training. And so you do get assigned to some of our veterans that have been around for a while so that hopefully you get everything you need as quickly as possible.
That sounds like a great structure, and it's obviously working. And longevity is important. We're all seeking employees that stay for a long time, and it's not a high turnover situation like it is in this industry for the most part. And I think it's a tribute to the way you onboard people and how you treat people and how they're led and what you teach them, because some managers can set their employees up for failure by not setting clear expectations and demonstrating what is expected of them. So it sounds like you got that covered. Let's talk about leadership. What does that word mean to you? And then tell us what your leadership style is.
I think that good leader, no matter what, is just somebody that genuinely cares about the people that they're working with. Um, we're support. I know that if I walked outside and got hit by a bus, the restaurant's still opening today. It's still going to function just fine. Service is going to go off without a hitch. They're going to close after a service and they're going to reopen tomorrow. Life doesn't end with me. So my job truly is a supporting role. every manager's job is a supporting role. We are the people that help get the roadblocks out of everybody else's way and make sure that they have everything they need to be able to do their jobs well. We just, we take the brain damage out of everybody's job, ideally.
Is there a certain, maybe not timeline is the word, but to develop your people, you mentioned recognizing something special in people, and some people really take initiative. They go above and beyond. They prove that they can keep moving up in your organization, and you want that so you don't lose these key people. Is there a way that you currently recognize, nurture, and develop that talent specifically? And how do you reward outstanding performance?
The company I'm with currently, we're relatively, and we're still in our infancy to some degree. So for me right now, it's a little bit easier because I've brought people that I've worked with in the past who were high performers who had a lot of potential and who perhaps we weren't able to move up in the company that I was previously. So here, I'm able to put them in bigger roles from the start. But thinking historically, it's just looking for, how do I say it? You do the job before it's your job. You
I like that.
want to do more, right? It's you get the promotion long before you had the promotion, before you had the title, before you had the responsibilities. So the people that are stepping up and they're taking these roles and these extra responsibilities, not because you ask them to, but because they see that there's a need there. Those are the people that will end up in bigger roles.
Is there any cross training that fits into that? And people, it can be a backup plan in some cases if someone gets sick or something the unexpected happens. If people are trained in multiple positions, they may not specialize in that, but again, the show can go on and they can jump in and be very versatile that way. Does that happen?
It does, especially with our restaurant that we just recently opened. We've been opening for about a month. And because of the size of the restaurant, because of the style of the restaurant, we've cross-trained a lot of our employees into multiple positions. And we haven't cross-trained everybody, but the people that have that really high potential, the ones that really show that initiative, that ask to be cross-trained, we do. We give them that opportunity and get them into these other positions too.
A lot of restaurants have that typical employee of the month thing, but is there anything unique or creative about recognition and rewards that up levels morale in your company overall as a whole? Do you do anything special like that in any of the locations?
Not like the employee of the month, no. I think it's kind of
Something
cliche and
that is a cliche. Something more
yeah.
innovative, creative, cool that people really enjoy and they appreciate either on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks, just out of curiosity.
Frankly, I think it's just simple thank you. A simple, I genuinely believe that you not only correct in the moment, but you also compliment in the moment. So when
Mhm.
somebody does something great, recognize it immediately. I don't think that those bigger shows of appreciation, yeah, they're great. But I think that those daily thank yous, the daily recognition, it just goes a long way. I know for me that when somebody tells me, hey, I noticed you did this thing, thank you. Man, that gasses me up for days. Like
Okay.
I feel great. It doesn't take
Mm.
much to make somebody feel good and appreciated.
Yeah, everyone works for a paycheck, but people really thrive on praise and knowing that their contribution matters. So glad that you shared.
Yeah.
Company culture is different in every restaurant. And you could take a survey of your employees and say, what do you think our culture is? And what is it like to work here? And if there was a common thread between, 10 or 20 people, you would say, okay, that's a very foundational thing. How would you describe the company culture, not just in one restaurant, but overall for your company? Is there a company culture where people might change locations in a pinch if they're close by, or people can jump in? Are there any bonding experiences between the properties? First, tell me about the culture and then tell me if any of that happens besides.
We are forming that. So I joined Rax Hospitality at the very end of July.
Mm.
So for the last few months, between opening a new restaurant and then establishing the foundation for what our company is going to be, not now, but say 5 years from 10 years from now, we're building that. So I think that if you speak to our employees, especially the ones that we have at our property that we just opened and day one with us, we have a culture of transparency. Everybody's very open. The managers communicate really well with the team and let them know where we are, what's going on. There's a teamwork is a big focus. Being a team, it's not every win for himself or herself. There's no front of house, back of house, weird animosity that so often gets made fun of in online memes.
Hmm.
Or it's really a focus on being a team and that we genuinely do need each other to make this thing work. And there is cross training between properties and between different positions within properties. And we do borrow and trade frequently when there's call outs or somebody's sick. Um, so that's a relatively new thing that we've started doing probably in the last month or so. The managers were starting to have weekly meetings with all of the managers in the company, including the chefs. So front of house, back of house manager meeting once a week. And I lovingly call it manager group therapy. And that way
Yes.
they need each other to bounce ideas off of, to go to for support. They don't want to have to come to me all the time or anybody else that sits at HQ. That way they have each other to talk to turn to. And the old adage, it's lonely at the top. It is. And some of these new managers, when you're a little baby manager, you start to realize that it is a shift and you don't get to vent to the bartenders anymore. So you need to have that person that you can turn to.
Thanks for sharing. So let's start to think more about marketing now, because I've always believed that you play your best game in restaurants, but you also understand and keep an eye on what the competition is up to. And staying relevant is planning ahead and not thinking just because I'm successful today, we're always going to be successful. Because I could tell you stories, and I'm sure you have your own, of restaurants that were in business 50 years and their customers aged out and they didn't keep up with the younger population, all that kind of stuff. Is there a key to staying relevant? And what do you do to monitor what the competition is doing?
Key to staying relevant is pay attention to what's happening. Be aware of the trends, not just within your city, but within your industry, period, as a whole.
Mhm.
Then within your city, understand what works and what doesn't work. What works in one city doesn't necessarily work in another.
Absolutely true.
So paying attention, learning your city, learning your demographic. And then I think more importantly is embracing what you are, not what you wish you were. I feel like when we open restaurants, we have this idea of what we're going to be, and this is going to be our demographic, and this is our target market. And then when you open, maybe it's true, but a lot of the times it isn't. So you have to be willing to shift and embrace what you actually are as opposed to what you wish you were. And longevity, man, that's a great question. Because we just recently had a restaurant in Houston that was open for 40 years. It was the first Japanese restaurant in Houston. It just recently closed. And everybody was very sad about it. The city's talking about it. So I think that to some degree, relevancy was a piece of that also, and aging out and clientele to stay fresh. So it's just staying current and being willing to shift when you have to shift, paying attention to what's happening around you and making sure that you're appealing not just to the demographic you started with, but keeping it fresh.
Yeah, that's good advice. Some operators are so close to things that they don't take a step back and take a fresh perspective and really plan ahead. It's just about putting out today's fires and just getting through service and making sure the food is great and the guests are having a good time and everything is. But what's going to happen next month and next year and 5 years from now? And you got to keep your eye on all those things. And like you said, staying current with the current situation. Oh, that's great. What about a marketing plan? Is there a strategic marketing plan for each of your concepts? Every guest in your restaurant sees your menu. It's your most important and effective marketing tool, and every impression counts. TerraSlate not only provides easy to clean, waterproof, ripstop, antimicrobial menus that last, they also work with you to design menus that sell. It's time for a new menu. Get TerraSlate with a super fast one-day turnaround and free overnight shipping. Go to terraslate.com. That's spelled TerraSlate.com. Listen, your restaurant wants more business. Birthdays bring more business. Not just more guests, but 40% higher check averages. Best of all, more birthdays happen Sunday through Thursday when you want more business. You can get an all-done-for-you service that sends you all the birthday business. Don't lose birthdays to the competition. Go to jointhebirthdayclub.com/birthday rockstar. It's a piece of cake.
We have two concepts currently. One of them is wholesale coffee, restaurant beans, coffee concentrate that we make also. And then we have the brick and mortar restaurant. So very different
They
tactics
are.
there. We have another concept that's going to be opening towards the end of this year. And that one is completely different than the other two that we already have. Frankly, especially within Houston, our focus truly is just for our latest concept or the current one. It's a lot of social media. It really is. We are aiming for the neighborhood. We're aiming for the locals. We're aiming for the walkable residents that stroll around. It's a very walkable neighborhood that we're in. So for us, it's just we've got to get our name out. More and more people hear about us every day, which is great. More and more people are talking about us every day. So ensuring that our social media presence is strong enough, making sure that we're getting talked about in the local food groups, especially on Facebook. And then the local media, hoping that they continue to pick us up. And we've
Yes.
gotten a lot of buzz about the food. And so focusing on the quality and the hospitality, because as long as we can nail that, people will continue to talk, which means we'll continue to get some of the press. And for us, our full focus is just getting our name in the media right now and getting our name out there.
Yeah, and the team have such an influence on whether or not people come back again. If your team are making friends with their guests, giving them lots of reasons to come back, they're not only coming back, but they're leaving positive reviews and all that kind of stuff. And that is cost-effective marketing for sure. I always refer to that as internal marketing. So thanks for sharing. Now, influencers can also be a big deal. We have Uber drivers and we have hotel concierges. And if you make friends with those people, maybe even give them incentives for sending business. Does that happen?
Not not in that way for us. To be honest, we have a leg up being that one of our owners is one of the star pitchers for the Astros.
Oh, I did
Helps.
read about that. Yeah, I guess so. That's fantastic.
That
There's an advantage.
that yeah, that definitely helps us get some attention. And when he or his wife posts on their social media, it definitely attracts attention. So that is helpful. Locally, we are partnering with a lot of businesses. We partner with a local yoga studio, Pilates studio, and all these other people because we have this beautiful green space that's part of our restaurant also. So we activate the green space a lot with local businesses.
Oh, I like that.
So for us, we've been focusing on partnering with other local small businesses. We've been partnering with running clubs that start their run and end their run at our coffee shop. So for us, it's those partnerships as opposed to looking for the standard, hey, concierge, we'll give you $5 a head. We're not going in that direction yet.
Sure. Okay. No, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. You do have strategic partnerships and you're working with local businesses and you found a way to make that work. So thank you. What about, let's see, any experiments? Let's go back to that crazy question I started earlier about, oh, what are your crazy restaurant stories? Are there any experiments that were uncertain at first, but turned out to be really big hits in any of your concepts that you can think of? Like
Yeah,
someone came up with a crazy idea and some people said, oh, I don't know about that. We did it, we tried it, and wow, look what happened. Anything like that?
we did. So a few years back, we had this property that was part of the portfolio that I was previously at. Smaller property, very intimate, very beautiful. And I remember years ago, gosh, I'm going to date myself, late 90s. I had gone to this murder mystery dinner when I still lived in Orange County. I hadn't moved out of my parents' house yet. And so I went to this murder mystery dinner and I had so much fun. And I was like, man, I wonder whatever happened to those things. Nobody does that anymore. So I started tossing it around and the manager, the chef, they're like, that's so lame. That's so lame. And, we decided to try it anyway. And it was a wild hit. We put the tickets on sale. They sold out within an hour. We ended up adding a second show directly after. That one also sold out. So that became one of our regular circulating we would do quarterly was murder mystery dinner.
I like it. Yeah, that still happens. Entertainment is part of it. We go to trivia night pretty regularly, and it's a lot of fun. There are two local places. One's at a golf course, a country club, and the other's at a pizzeria and a bar. They're both different, but they're both fun, and it's a draw, and they fill the place. Just they bring in someone, and it's a trivia thing, and you compete as teams, and you win gift cards and all that stuff. And Yeah, it's about being competitive, but I think people love trivia. So murder mysteries, all that stuff works. That's being
Yeah.
creative and resourceful, and it's not tired or old. It still works. How about any seemingly great ideas that turned out to be fails?
Oh, gosh, that's a harder one to answer because I had so many of them. No, I think that a lot of my ideas, especially moving to Houston, it was a learning curve. I had lived very coastal, so West Coast, East Coast, and then I moved to Houston. And what worked there did not work here. And it was definitely a learning curve as far as when we were coming up with new concepts and new menus. And there were a lot of things that I was like, man, if this was in Philly, if this was in DC, we would have nailed it, but it just flopped here. So it's been a couple of years of a handful of good failures as far as conceptually putting together menus that just,
Wow, this I asked that question and it just reminds me of something I did a long time ago. We were at a winter sports resort in one of my larger concepts, and we got the brilliant idea, I should say, I got the brilliant idea of buying a snowmobile. We had a local dealer that was a customer of ours. He gave us a really nice new sled at cost. And then we decided to have this raffle where we are going to give it away. And it turned out to be a complete debacle. And it turns out it was an illegal raffle in the state of Maine. And we literally had to pay everyone back all the money that they had paid, even though somebody actually won the snowmobile. So we were out thousands of dollars, but having to individually give back hundreds of raffle dollars was just crazy. So these things happen. You seemingly
yeah.
have a great idea and it just goes
Mhm.
sideways. And you know what? But I have to say, it probably gave us a good marketing benefit. So there was a marketing aspect to
Yeah.
it. Even if it costs some money, chalk it up to marketing.
A
Let's,
couple
yeah, go
years,
ahead.
oh, sorry. A
No,
couple
no,
years
please.
ago, Super Bowl, we had this concept that everybody loved our chicken wings. It was Step Drive. It was one of the first beer bars in America.
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
pretty well known. And so we decided to do this special on chicken wings on Super Bowl Sunday. And we crashed the restaurant on accident. Well, they got destroyed. The amount of chicken wings that people were ordering and buying was insane. We had to make multiple trips to go pick up drop orders to get more.
Oh, yeah.
So it
Oh, yeah.
was a bit of a disaster. Didn't go as made plans.
Again, we can all look back on these things and laugh at them now. And I think our audience, if they get a chuckle out of this, it just helps them put things in perspective about their own properties and stuff, and the things that happen great and the things that don't quite work out. And the show must go on again. Let's talk about finances now. Now, inflation, the highest labor costs ever, maintaining margins has become harder than ever. And you have a particular bent and interest in the financial side of this business. What is your company doing to combat those things that are seemingly out of control without losing the value added to the guests that they've come to expect?
Now more than ever, it's really important to control waste. So that's a huge piece of it, making sure that we're costing everything correctly. So we do use technology because I think it's so important to really, truly understand it, not guess, but really understand what the cost of everything is and what is the true cost of doing business. Understanding that if you can find that savings somewhere, then you are able to give it back to your employees. You are able to continue to pay better. And that's the thing that historically our industry hasn't done very well is to pay well because it's
Absolutely
we
true.
raise if we raise our prices in the restaurants, then all of the guests get really upset because, oh my gosh, this is an $18 burger. How dare you? But this is really expensive to put together. You want quality ingredients and you want quality employees and you want a beautiful space. And so everything as it all adds up. At this point, we really have to monitor what we're spending, really have to monitor waste, we have to be very conscious of who we're hiring. And that kind of goes back to you can only have one project at a time. If you have a line of 5 cooks, and of those five, 3 of them are a project, line of 5 just turn into a line of 7 because the other 3 can't do their
Hmm.
jobs the degree that you need
Absolutely.
them to in order to
Right.
keep labor down. So I think that there's just a combination of things to get it to all operate well. And branding is a big piece of it. Setting expectations is another big piece of it. Hiring well is a big piece of it. Man, it's definitely been a tough business to operate since the pandemic for sure.
I think you really zeroed in on it. And I think the word that jumped out at me was efficiencies, because the only way to battle what you can't control is finding ways of cutting costs that don't cut quality, and just finding efficiencies in everything you're doing, from hiring to ordering, so that the waste and the spoilage and the processes and procedures, that's really what we can do. So I'm glad you shared that as well.
Mhm.
So you have a quality over everything approach, and that's got to be hard to achieve. Can you give us some more detail? Peel back the onion on that a little bit.
We don't want to compromise. Just like you said, we don't want to compromise on quality, and what we don't want to buy less expensive ingredients that aren't to the quality that we expect simply to save money. We definitely believe that there's a way to balance all of that, to not compromise on quality, whether it's product or the space you're in or the employees, the service you're giving, whatever. We don't want to compromise on that. And it matters to us deeply at the highest level. So as we're hiring and making sure that the people that we're bringing on board feel the same way.
I guess that goes back to the company culture also. And I've never really believed in mission statements, because that's something like the employee handbook you talked about that just gets tossed in the backseat of the car as soon as they get it. No one really cares about the mission, but they do care about the culture and the team spirit and the camaraderie and how they feel about the people they work with, the recognition and rewards, the praise that you talked about, and just feeling I belong here and my voice is heard and I make a difference. And I think that's really the key. And it sounds like you're hitting that. And that obviously impacts quality and the guest experience.
Yeah. To be fair, we have great managers that are nailing it on the property level. Our VMs and our floor managers, our chefs, our sous chefs, they're nailing it. They do a great job with that.
Fantastic. Lena, I certainly enjoyed having you as a guest. Thank you so much for being with us.
That was my pleasure. Thank you.
That was the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Thanks so much to our audience for tuning in. Thank you to our sponsors of this week's show. We hope everyone stays well and stays tuned. We can't wait to see you in the next episode.
People go to restaurants for lots of reasons. For fun, celebration, for family, for lifestyle. What the customer doesn't know is the thousands of details it takes to run a great restaurant. This is a high-risk, high-fail business. It's hard to find great staff. Costs are rising and profits are disappearing. It's a treacherous road, and smart operators need a professional guide. I'm Roger. I've started many highly successful, high-profit restaurants. I'm passionate about helping other owners and managers not just succeed, but knock it out of the park. I created a game-changing system, and it's filled with everything I've learned in over 20 years running super profitable, super fun restaurants. Everything from creating high-profit menu items and cost controls to staff training where your teams serve and sell, to marketing hooks, money-maximizing tips, and efficiencies across your operation. What does this mean to you? More money to invest in your restaurant, to hire a management team, time freedom, and peace of mind. You don't just want to run a restaurant. You want to dominate your competition and create a lasting legacy. Join the Academy and I'll show you how it's done.